Mariss to our orchestra in
Thank you very much.
Oslo the
Thank
very
you.
first time.
Yes, it is the first time.
Yes, and when I read your bio, it seems like you want to conquer the world.
No,
Yes,
no,
yeah.
really, no. I'm just very happy and very, how can I say, lucky that I have so much options, so much opportunities to make music. But my goal, my aim is not to be everywhere. My goal is really just to find the right partners to make great music. Like, for example, this week here in Oslo has been so far a fantastic connection for me and a beautiful experience with this great orchestra. This is what I wish, and I'm doing this.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. An inspiring week for us.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, you moved to Vienna when you were 19.
Correct.
You started your musical studies with violin.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you to Vienna?
Vienna, I think we all know Vienna as we call it like the capital, of the classical music, and it is in a way. I mean, nowadays there are a lot of great cities with great orchestra and a very important cultural activity. But Vienna still remains a very special place, not only because all the great orchestras are always touring through Vienna. One of the most important orchestras in the world is in Vienna, the great opera house as well, but also the history, the tradition, and especially the classical music, and not only the architecture, the museums. So when I was thinking, or when I decided to try to become a conductor, I was looking. Okay, where could I find a really good school? And at that time I was in Colombia, of course, and I had the possibility to see some conductors who went to the school in Vienna, and my feeling was they had a very clear technique and also a very clear musically speaking, structure, which I like it very much. So I decided for myself, okay, this is the place I want to try to go into the. At that time was the Hochschule, now it's the Music University, and this is why I decided to stop my studies. I was already studying at the university in Bogota, in Colombia, but I decided to stop and make the big move and big, travel to Vienna and try my luck. And fortunately, I went through the exam, which was something very, very exciting. And then I started my studies, and I still live there. So I became Austrian as well. So it's after so long time, I feel very happy, very thankful for this place, for Vienna, and also very connected in a way with the music, with the mentality. I'm happy.
Yes, you were a long time with the Tonkünstler Orchestra there.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm finishing. This is my last season now. We are in 14-15. Yes, correct. The 14-15 season is my last season as a chief conductor there. And again, I'm also very thankful to this orchestra, because this was my first, first major, really professional, great orchestra, and already in Vienna, also an orchestra with a beautiful, great tradition. So I could, absorb so much music and try so much things for the first time. It was a great experience.
Yes, and you started your musical studies with the violin.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about conducting that you find so fulfilling?
Mm-hmm. I started doing music when I was very young. The first thing I did before I started studying violin was singing in the choir, as hopefully many of us or many musicians should do or did, just singing in the boys, in the children choirs, and this was my first connection with the classical music, special. And then I started with 6 years playing the violin, etc. And at certain point, I remember playing either chamber music or in the orchestra, that I always try to learn my music very, very fast by memory, so that I could be in contact and looking to everywhere. And what I started doing was trying to anticipate the music. So I remember many times playing the second violin, which I love. I love the second violins perhaps because of this, and it's because also the music is in between. And then part of having the first violin in my right, and I was the principal of the second violins, so I was always kind of, in a way, not conducting, but in advance and in before the music happened, looking everywhere, having a contact with the flute, with the clarinet, with everyone. And at some point, the conductor told me, actually, what you are doing is in a way conducting already, because you anticipate the music. This is the practical reason. The other reason is more anecdotic. When I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old, I started conducting in the living room in my house, in my apartment. I just put a cassette, audio cassette.
Yes.
We don't know this more.
No.
Our times it doesn't exist anymore. It's at the museum.
But I know.
But you know this, okay? I'm glad I'm not the only one who used to hear music from the cassette.
No.
And I had a cassette with a Mozart, the Kleine Nachtmusik. Very popular, but this is what I had at home. And I remember conducting this piece, doing as a conductor. Of course, I didn't know how, but I just moved my hands and talking with my imaginary orchestra. And I was, again, 6 or 7 years old, I don't know, or 8 probably. So these are like the first moments. Then I start really conduct, and I decide, this is what I really wanted to do. And actually, I have to say, the problem was at the same time, I never practiced violin properly, so I was very lazy. I played very bad the violin. So even if I would like to achieve a career as a violinist, it would be a disaster. So in a way, it was the only option I had to be musician or to find a way to survive.
Yes.
Being conductor.
I don't think so, but
No, really, if you give me a violin now, you will see I barely can take the violin in the right way. I was really not a good violinist, but was interesting, and it is interesting for me, because I played in the orchestra badly, but I played in the orchestra, so I also had the experience, not only being on the other side from the conductor, but also the experience how the bowing, for example, how you could do something with the strings, and I have the feeling it helps a lot for a conductor because the strings section is the bigger one, the biggest one, and it's good for you if you can communicate with the strings in a way that they kind of feel okay. He knows what is he talking about.
Yes.
So I have the feeling I kind of feel how the bowing works, and so it helps me to sometimes go through to difficult passage.
Yes, it does. Having lived and studied in Vienna, and listening and experiencing the top orchestras and conductors, do you have one conductor that have influenced you the most? Or
it's a good
more
question.
Conductors?
I don't have for example, other so let's say younger conductors or colleagues. They had the options or the possibility to work with one conductor, one important conductor as an assistant or something like this. I never did this. What I always tried to do in the past and still now is trying to get the best from everyone. I remember when I came to Vienna, the first thing I decided to do was to go into the choir, so singing in the choir. And the Vienna has now one, but at that time 2 very important semi-professional, so amateur choirs, but in a very high level. One of these is the Symphony choir, which is the chorus from the Symphony building, this great Musikverein, correct. A choir that used to work with Brahms, Karajan, and all the major conductors. So I thought, okay, this is for sure something where I could go in and be part of the musical making process, but also being on the stage. And this is what I did. On the very first 2 years or 3 years when I was studying, I was singing on that choir at the same time. And I remember, for example, being there and my first, and this you will probably laugh, and nobody knows this perhaps, but my first big project with the Symphony was a tour a touring to so in Austria and also to Greek with Verdi Requiem, Mahler's Second Symphony, and the conductor was Mariss Jansons, and the orchestra was the Oslo Philharmonic.
Really?
Yes. And this was the first time I was singing on the stage in Musikverein, and then we went to Athens.
Yes, I remember. I was there.
Oh, look! And I was singing in the choir, and we did Mahler's Second and Verdi Requiem with the Oslo Philharmonic with Mariss Jansons. So could you imagine how the lives works? And at that time I was my decision was to be in the choir, because then you can experience so much from the conductors, and it happens like this. I had the experience just for this one production, but anyway, very interesting, very inspiring, with Mariss Jansons there, with the Oslo Philharmonic playing fantastic. I remember that, and like this I did something singing in the chorus with Riccardo Muti conducting, and etc. etc. So great conductors. So I never had only one conductor who was my only one inspiration. Again, what I try always is to take the best things from everyone, and as we know, every conductor, even not only the bigger names, but also the less popular ones or less famous one, every person has something to say.
Yes.
And it's your decision if you want to listen. And what I choose is to listen and try to take what I hear and make myself.
Yes, that's why the conducting students should always come to all rehearsals, because they can always take something.
Absolutely.
Anybody.
And I recommend this. This is always, as you say, for anybody, everyone can tell something, or even if someone is doing something wrong.
Yeah, it's very important.
You can learn also this to do. Okay, he's doing very bad. I should never do it this way. Even this is very precious, and so what I did, and when I was in Vienna, I visit a lot of rehearsals from the Vienna Philharmonic, from Tonkünstler, from the Symphony. All the rehearsals I could visit, I was there just watching, learning, absorbing, and this was on the same time with the school the best school I could get.
Yes. We're playing one of the most popular symphonies this week, Dvorak's from the New World.
Correct.
It was a fantastic success already from the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And I read that Neil Armstrong even brought his own record to the moon.
Okay.
Yes.
That's true.
So, and we play it again and again, all orchestras.
Mm-hmm.
What, in your opinion, makes this music so eternal?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I think many reasons, and you could go very deep into the technical aspects, but I think probably more important in general, Dvorak's music in general, not only this one, this particularly, of course, has the quality, and this reminds me very much with all the bigger composers, especially for that time, the quality of mixing or introduction or connecting their own roots to their national music, their folkloric music in the symphonic process, in the symphonic world. When you hear this symphony, or the 6th, or the 8th, even the 7th, or the American Quartet, or whatever you hear from Dvorak, you will always feel, in my opinion, this bohemian, this Czech, this kind of walking through the streets in Prague, seeing how the Molda is running close to you, so you feel the national music. And in this symphony particularly, of course, you can discuss, or there are many theories about if this is American music, or if it's a bohemian music or national music. I believe it's more the second one. I don't think it's so much American music, actually. I definitely think and feel, at just already the very beginning of the symphony, it's kind of melancholic, and also the second movement, there's very famous solo from English horn. It's some people say this is something coming from the Indian music, American. For me, sounds more bohemian, and more national, more Czech or Czechoslovakian from that time as American. Of course, if you want, you can give this touch as well, and it also fits in this idea. But I think Dvorak was more trying to recreate the homesickness, what he was missing all the time from his people, his history, his traditions, and again all these elements that it makes the music so approachable. Everyone feel like is a national music from Europe. Even if you are in Norway, somehow you feel this is something popular. This is something I feel I have to dance. For example, when you hear the third movement, tam tam parim pim dam pam parim pim, you feel you have to move yourself. This is a dancing music, and so at the moment you feel like connected, and this makes, of course, for everyone. Besides of this, there's a lot of interesting things: the harmonic, the orchestration, the motifs, the architecture. The last movement, for example, is phenomenal, a lot of energy, but you always can find melodies that you can repeat immediately. And this is something happened with the bigger composers, Beethoven, Mahler, Brahms, everyone. You can take one line and it's the simplest one. Beethoven Fifth Symphony is nothing, but everyone can repeat it. And at this moment makes the music easy to understand or to feel connected with, and it makes so popular.
Yes. Well, in the first half of the program, we'll perform one of my absolute favorites, and in my opinion, one of the most beautiful pieces ever written, the Letzte Lieder by Strauss.
Correct.
And it also had an interesting premiere in London with Furtwängler and the Philharmonic Orchestra and Norway's own Kirsten Flagstad. Yes.
Look what a great connection again.
Yes, again, fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure you also have do you have a special relationship with that piece?
Yes, I mean, as you say, the piece is a marvelous piece of music. It's beautiful, it's very Strauss, but at the same time you can feel it's, of course, one of the last pieces he composed, he wrote, and you can feel like this is going to the end, but doing a beautiful epilogue, or like, okay, this is how the lives end, and I was happy, I accomplished so much, but the beauty of the voice, the beauty of the human being is at the end what is the most important thing in the life, in the world. So just as a general feeling, indeed, my first biggest concert I conduct in Vienna with the Tonkünstler was stepping in for another conductor, and the program was, in the second half, Bruckner Fourth Symphony, and the first half was Strauss, the fourth last on the Letzte Lieder. So and after that concert, kind of my career in a way start. So of course this kind of connections remains for you very powerful and very important for always. So I love the music, and I'm happy doing this one more time here with this great orchestra, with an orchestra that is able from the very beginning to play beautiful pianos, for example, really soft sounds, but still with substance. And this essentially for this piece. If an orchestra is not able to play a really beautiful piano sound, a really soft sound, you can forget it, because the singer will need to force all the time, and then the music doesn't mean the same. So I'm very happy and always glad when an orchestra invites me and asks me if I will be happy to do this piece. My first answer, definitely, without thinking 1 second, is definitely yes.
Well, we are having a very inspiring week with you here, and eagerly looking forward to this week's concert.
Thank you very much.
And to your next stay with us.
Hopefully in the future.
In summer.
In summer, why not? But I must
Anytime.
say this time I'm very, very lucky. It's not that cold as I was expecting. So I'm having a very good time. The orchestra is giving me the warmness I I wasn't expected. So it's a very big surprise. You hear the Norwegian or the Scandinavian people and orchestras in this sense seems to be very cold and are very distant, and this is not bad experience at all so far in this week. People that loves to laugh, loves to enjoy the music, but at the same time, which is a great quality, concentrated and focus on the main things and with open mind. And I appreciate this very much. It has been a fantastic week. I'm very happy. Let's see how the concert goes, but I have the feeling we will have beautiful experience, very touching and close to the audience as well. So,
thank you.
Thank you.